It's time now for business, and we cross to the World Economic Forum in Davos, and France 24 business editor Stephen Carroll. Stephen, earlier you sat down with French Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire and discussed most notably that changing of the guard that was made official this Thursday at French car giant Renault.
That's right. Carlos Ghosn was someone who was sometimes described as the epitome of the Davos man. Of course, now in a Japanese prison, and he has resigned, was the news that we had this morning from Bruno Le Maire as CEO and chairman of the car maker Renault, as Mr. Ghosn faces those allegations of financial misconduct in Japan. What I've been talking to Bruno Le Maire about has been the future of Renault, what will become of the alliance under the new leadership announced today of Thierry Bolloré as CEO and Jean-Dominique Senard as chairman. Let's take a listen to what Bruno Le Maire had to say to me about this earlier.
I'm confident, and I think that through that new governance of Renault, there will be a strengthening of the alliance. And the first task of the new chairman of Renault will be to reinforce the alliance, because this is in the interest of both France and Japan to have that strengthening of the alliance. The alliance now is the first car producers in the world. It means that they have a huge responsibility, and the responsibility is to gather our forces to have more funding for innovation, for disruptive innovation, for electric cars, for autonomous cars. That's the key question, and it will be the first task of the new chairman of Renault.
What discussions have been had as regards Carlos Ghosn's exit package from Renault?
It is up to the new governance to think about that and to take the appropriate decisions about the way Carlos Ghosn will leave Renault.
Well, the other big topic of discussion that I had with the French finance minister is this new tax on digital giants, which Bruno Le Maire says they will apply from the 1st of January this year on turnover of major digital companies, those that have global turnover of greater than 750 million euros. Mr. Le Maire in France pressing ahead with this idea, both in the wake of the Yellow Vest protests in France, but also they had tried to bring this tax to a European level and it had been rejected because, of course, you need unanimity at a European level to introduce any sort of change to tax regimes. So I asked Bruno Le Maire why he couldn't get agreement across the European Union.
There are some countries which are still reluctant to digital taxation. You have Sweden, Ireland, Finland, Denmark. I think there is still room for maneuver, and with my German counterpart Olaf Scholz, we will do our best to convince those 4 last countries to join the consensus. There is a consensus of 23 member states to have a fair digital taxation at the European level. I hope that we will be able to convince by the end of March those 4 last countries to join the consensus. It would be far better to have a European solution.
Bruno Le Maire tells me he can convince you to change your mind on a digital tax by the end of March. What are his chances?
Well, I have a really good working relationship with Minister Le Maire. I'm aware of the immensely important work he is doing on behalf of President Macron for the French economy and for the people of France. And I'll continue to work with Minister Le Maire across a whole variety of different policy areas. I do have a different view in relation to how we can tax the digital economy, and my views on that are known by Minister Le Maire, and I look forward to working with him across the coming weeks and months in relation to that area.
Well, there you have it. There's Ireland's finance minister responding to what Bruno Le Maire told me earlier. It doesn't look like they'll be getting European agreement on taxation anytime soon. Francois, of course, there is efforts going on at the OECD level. That is Ireland's argument, is that this should be dealt with at OECD level. The OECD says it'll publish its first plans for how digital taxation could work this year, with a full plan in place by 2020.
All right, we shall see how that plays out. Certainly plenty of political pressure in this country when it comes to that thorny issue of how you tax digital giants. Many thanks, Stephen Carroll. We'll be checking with you later for more coverage from the World Economic Forum in Davos.